On a cold evening, the bustling port of Zeebrugge seemed like any other. Passengers boarded their ferry for what they expected to be an ordinary crossing back to England. But that night, the ferry Herald of Free Enterprise would set sail on a voyage which would end in disaster, one that would highlight critical failings and forever change maritime safety. The 6th of March 1987, the port of Zeebrugge, Belgium. The Herald of Free Enterprise is part of the Townsend Torresen fleet, designed mainly to fulfill the popular route between Dover in England and Calais in France. Today, she will be sailing from Zeebrugge in Belgium to Dover. The Herald of Free Enterprise is what is known as a roll-on, roll-off ferry. The type's unique design features doors at the front and rear of the ship, allowing vehicles to drive straight on and off. This design makes loading and unloading the car deck considerably faster and more efficient. When loading is complete, a pair of large doors are shut, preventing water from entering. Profit margins for this route are tight, and crews are under a lot of pressure to clean and prepare the ship as quickly as possible. Today, they are running 5 minutes late. Earlier, in order to load vehicles onto the upper deck, the crew had to let water into the ship's ballast tanks to add weight, making the ship sit lower in the water, allowing the port's ramp to reach the deck. Due to a number of factors including a promotion on tickets, the ship is operating at its maximum capacity for passengers and vehicles and is slightly overweight. On board are a crew of 80, 459 passengers, along with a number of cars, lorries and buses. At 6:05 PM, the ferry pulls away from the dock and sails out of the port. It increases speeds to make up for the lost time. They reach 18 knots, the highest permitted. Conditions are calm. After a few minutes, out of nowhere, those on board feel a massive jolt. People are surprised, but assume it's nothing to worry about and things return to normal. But again, another surge is felt, followed by the ship listing to the side. She rights herself but lists again. In just 90 seconds, the Herald of Free Enterprise reaches 30 degrees, then 90 degrees, violently capsizing onto its side. It happens so fast that many passengers and crew don't even have time to react. A mayday isn't even sent. Many are trapped inside, others are thrown into the freezing water. The interior of the ship is left in darkness and rapidly filling with water. People try to either escape outside or find a pocket of air so they can breathe. Luckily, the ship comes to rest on a sandbar, preventing it from disappearing underwater completely. The crew aboard a nearby dredger notice Herald of Free Enterprise's lights disappear and notify the port authorities. Both rescue teams and local boats scramble to help them. Passengers and crew battle the freezing temperatures of the water. In the chaos, some manage to escape through broken windows or scramble outside and onto the exposed hull. Others are rescued by rescuers, fishing boats, and other vessels who came to their aid, but not everyone on board is so lucky. In total, 193 people lose their lives. It is the worst British maritime disaster during peacetime since the Titanic. As the ship sits on its side, one glaring detail cannot be unseen. The bow doors are open. Where most ships feature separated watertight compartments, a roll-on roll-off ferry's design features an open car deck stretching the entire length of the ship. Once all vehicles were on board, it was standard procedure for a crew member to close the doors before sailing. That evening, the assistant bosun was responsible for closing the bow doors. However, he had been working long hours, and after he'd finished cleaning the car deck, he went to his cabin for a short break and inadvertently fell asleep. After he would have shut them, the ship's first officer was supposed to check to confirm they were closed, but due to a high workload and pressure from the company to be ahead of schedule, he'd returned to the bridge where he was needed there and hadn't confirmed the doors were in the shut position. Also, with the view they have from the bridge, neither him or the captain would be able to see if they were open or closed. No indicator light was built into the ship to indicate their position. The only way is to physically go down into the car deck and manually inspect them. The captain, believing everything was ready, had no way to verify their status from his position, and other crew members assumed that someone else had already closed them. As the ship departed Zeebrugge and began to accelerate, the open bow allowed seawater to rush straight into the car deck. To test how much water could enter through the opening, the investigation carries out a sea trial with an identical sister ship. When the ship is as loaded as the Herald of Free Enterprise was, coupled with a phenomenon which happens as a ship travels through shallow water where the water moving underneath creates an area of low pressure, making it sink even lower, as well as the bow wave becoming bigger in shallow water. It took a speed of 18 knots for the bow wave to become high enough to enter the open bow. As water flooded the car deck, it settled to one side, causing the ship to list. When countered by the ship's buoyancy, it pulled towards the opposite side. As this motion repeated, it created a pendulum. The ship tilted more and more until it reached the point of no return and capsized. The ship would be refloated and towed into dock. It was intended to be restored and sold to another operator, but a buyer couldn't be found, so it was scrapped. A number of safety improvements would come about as a result of the accident, including a light in the bridge to show the ship's doors are open or closed, as well as the implementation of opening and closing bulkheads for roll-on roll-off ferries. 7 people involved at the company were charged with gross negligence manslaughter, and the company itself, later called P&O, fined £400,000. But no individual would face punishment, as the various acts of negligence could not be attributed to anyone who was a so-called controlling mind. What would become known as the Zeebrugge ferry disaster stands as a reminder of what can happen when systems vulnerable to human error have inadequate redundancies in place, as well as the pressures that overly tight work schedules can put on crews. Thanks for watching my video, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a like rating for the time and effort I put into making it, and subscribe to catch new episodes as soon as I upload them. And I will see you next time.